So you guys have asked us to cover this, and now's the time. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you in the middle of May. So you guys know we have over 180 fruiting trees, vines, and shrubs here on this 6-acre desert farm. And one of the things that we love growing, of course here in Arizona, is citrus. So citrus is a little unique because it's an evergreen. So the reason they're all up here at the front of the farm is Lori wanted green when everybody pulls up to the farm. And of course, citrus fits that bill. So if you know the 5 C's of Arizona, citrus is one of those. And that's because it's a fantastic agricultural crop that has a lot of history here. We even have oranges named after the state, our Arizona sweet oranges. Now, one of the great parts about citrus when it comes to pruning and care is they don't require a lot. In fact, you really don't have to prune them at all, shy of what you want to do. In fact, if you drive around some of the other older parts of the Phoenix area, even some of the newer ones, you'll see that you have lollipop trees that are citrus, that have been there for decades. Now, that's probably not the best thing for a citrus tree. In fact, they prefer to be like a bush, much like the Meyer lemon that you see behind me here. However, because we are a functioning farm and we have visitors in the public that come to the farm, there's certain things we need to make sure we're doing to keep them safe. And the first thing we look at when it comes to pruning is we're gonna need to clean up all the bottoms of these trees just to make sure that we can see if there's rattlesnakes underneath there. So these are the tools we're gonna be using today. Of course, safety first. I've got glasses we'll be wearing, gloves that we'll definitely have on, lots of sharp tools here. And then speaking of sharp tools, you guys may know that the Corona pruners have been my go-to hand pruner for a long time, over a decade. And we actually had Felco reach out to us and suggested trying out their pruners. So we have Felco pruners we're gonna be trying out today, and we also have their hand saw. So small cuts, small branches, we'll be using pruners. Larger branches up to about an inch, inch and a half in diameter will be the loppers. And then we have our hand saw here. This will be for any larger branches that we may take off. And so you'll see us using those. Now, in addition, I've got a couple power tools. This one's a Sawzall with a pruning blade on it. And I have my trusty new DeWalt pruners. This one, I just fear that one of these days I'm gonna lose a finger too. So you can get an idea of what that's gonna look like after we're done. Now, again, one of the things about citrus, when you drive around the state, you see some of those lollipop trees, you'll see that the trunks are painted, and we will be doing some of that today, and we'll show you and tell you why. But the main reason is because you need to protect the trunks from sunburn. Now, this tree has plenty of canopy left. The sun itself is only gonna touch that trunk first thing in the morning and maybe at the very end of the day. Even that's doubtful because they're in rows. So the reality is with this particular trunk, we don't even need to paint it anymore. The tree's gonna take care of it. Now, there's still a lot of fruit on here, but what I need to show you is what we're gonna be doing with all the limbs I just removed. Probably. This thing never stops flowering. Once we're done getting all of the area underneath the tree pruned out, we start to remove all the fruit because we will be chipping all of those branches and we don't want fruit going through there. So we're gonna start filling this Rubbermaid full of fruit. You can already see just how much fruit has come off of the Meyer lemon. I already have the bottom of this Rubbermaid filled. Meyer lemons are extremely productive. If you guys have grown them before, you know that they overproduce. And so pruning this time of year, it's thinning at the same time. And because we concentrate on the lower part of the tree, the older branching, there's a tremendous amount of fruit down there. So what this will do is it'll encourage upward growth, which is what we want here on this farm, and new growth, which will eventually establish fruit a little higher up off the ground so it's easier for us to reach. So one other note on citrus trees and what you might want to do in a backyard setting. This tree, when it's all said and done, will be 15 to 20 feet tall. Most of the trees that you're going to be seeing us working on today all will be. We want them just as wide and tall as they can get to kind of block out the farm behind it. Now, if you wanted to, you could prune this any way you wanted. You could easily bring this in. You could turn it into a lollipop if you wanted to. You could also just top it if you want to make sure that it doesn't get too tall. But citrus trees, again, remember, they naturally want to be a big, gigantic bush. So you'll have to control that. All right, we got a lot of other work to do. We'll show you some before and after of some of these trees that we're going to be working on today. We've got this Cara that we just got pruned up. Now, this particular tree came from Reed at RSI Growers. He grafts his trees very low. So the graft point is here. One of the reasons, multiple reasons why we like to prune these up a couple feet is so we can find sucker growth. This branch here is actually sucker growth. It's coming from the rootstock. I had no idea it was here because this tree was way too bushy and couldn't make it out. Now, given enough time, if we didn't catch it, technically, it could take over the tree, which you don't want to do. So I'm going to use my trusty little pruners here. We're going to snip this off right at the trunk. And he is going into the chip pile. Now, one other thing, I've been using these Felco pruners here, and I'll tell you what, these are amazing. I am shocked how good these work. I mean, they fit my hand perfectly, and they're extremely sharp, which obviously I'll need to maintain that, but just the grip themselves, I'll tell you what, this is a quality tool right here. I'm shocked, I'll be honest. I didn't think anything could beat the Corona. These guys just did it. So this is our Arizona Sweet Trevita orange. Now this tree I wanted to prune up a little bit higher. It has a tendency to overproduce for us, so it's going to definitely droop down as it continues through the growing season. So for now, we're protecting the trunk. Now, you have a couple of options when it comes to this. Home Depot and Lowe's, they carry a latex-based tree trunk paint. You'll usually find it in white. However, you guys know we prefer to use the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard. This has essential oils in there, a couple different things that help protect this from critters that might want to bore into the trunk. And in this particular color, which is grayish, it's actually almost the exact same color as the rest of the trunk. If you wanted something that's organic, something that's going to give additional protection against bugs and pests, and you want something that actually looks kind of like the trunk, that's probably your best bet. Now, if you do use this, we do have a discount code for this. It's EONFARM, EONFARM. Be sure to use that for 10% off at checkout. But either way, make sure you're protecting anything that's going to have the sun penetrating to the trunk. You want to make sure you do that so you don't get sunburn. Trust me, we've learned from experience. We've lost trees by not doing this to sun damage. It definitely does happen. All right, I think we are almost done. So again, a few reasons why we really prefer to prune our citrus in May. Number one, we're completely done with harvesting. Our Grapefruit usually are harvested all the way into April, so we were harvesting those just a couple weeks ago, so that's completely done. The fruit set that's on here, still very, very small. You need to thin no matter what. We definitely like to make sure we have the trunk, at least the first couple feet exposed. That way we can make sure we don't have rattlesnakes underneath there and make sure that we don't have any sucker growth, so we can clear that out. And then of course, if you do prune them high and the sun's gonna penetrate, make sure you're protecting that trunk. Again, we prefer the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard, but any of the trunk paints would be just fine and it'll get the job done. Hopefully we gave you guys some great reasons to get your pruning care done on your citrus trees in the month of May. That way you're ready for citrus come next winter. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We cover a lot of things here on this newly established functioning farm here in the Arizona desert and would love to see you on a regular basis. If you have any questions or comments, those go in the comment section down below. And our Amazon shop, I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with the link down below, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. And one more time, if you're gonna be using the Ivy Organics products, EONFARM, that's your discount code at checkout, make sure you use that as well. So just wanna thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. Now, Arizona is known for citrus. If you know the 5 C's of citrus, 5 C's of citrus. And so the reality is with this particular trunk, we don't actually need to prune it anymore. Prune it?